What is up, everyone? This is Steve and Ronald here. This is our first ever episode or podcast of our brand new baby called Schmovie.
Schmovie.
Not plural, singular, because we are going to talk about one movie today.
Yes.
The idea of this podcast is to allow Ronald and I, we are co-workers and day, and at night we're going to be talking about movies literally in Ronald's basement, sitting in lawn chairs.
Which is necessary.
It feels very comfortable.
Yes.
Almost like the leg might break at any moment, but that kind of gives me a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
To talk about this movie.
It helps.
So this first episode, we figure we're going to go right out of the gate with a big one. Something that we both saw recently. This is going to be a new horror film that's been out for a couple weeks now. It's called Insidious.
Insidious.
Yeah. I saw it opening weekend. You saw it more recently, correct?
Yeah, very recently. Yes. I just recently saw it.
Okay.
James Wan.
Director James Wan.
James Wan, who also had his hand in the Saw movies. Particularly, I think, wasn't he primarily on the first one, right? He the first one and the second one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and had a hand in 3, but not as big of a hand, and then it kind of
he directed the first 2.
Yeah, and then it kind of dwindled.
Actually, no, I'm not sure. Actually, no, he directed the first one, and I think he's been a producer on the rest of them.
Right.
He also had a co-writing credit for the first one as well. But actually, oddly enough, the Saw connection isn't just that the director, the writer of this film, Lee Wanell, also co-wrote Saw 1, and he is in Saw 1. He's the younger dude in the tub in the opening sequence with Carrie Elways.
Right.
So he's also in this movie in a smaller role, but actually a quite kind of comedic role.
Yeah.
Kind of doesn't pop up towards the end, but
cool.
But we have a little clip right here. It's going to be from the trailer for the film to kind of give you a little background, and then we'll come back in and talk a little more about it. Check it out.
He's not in a coma. I don't know what to call it. I want to leave. I want to leave this house.
It's not the house that's haunted. It's your son.
Cool. So that is Insidious. All right, so let's start from the very beginning. Let's get the storyline of this thing straightened out. So we get the base of what we're gonna do. Okay. So what I'd like to do is we'll get this storyline description from IMDb and then fill it in. That's what I like to do.
Okay,
so,
keep it simple and then
keep it simple. So a family looks to prevent evil spirits from trapping their comatose child in a realm called the Further. Right. So that's the base of it.
Right.
So adding on to that, what more can we say about it besides that stuff? Because it's that, but it's a little more than that. This kid's been he's in a comatose state for quite some time, and it really is.
Yeah, I mean he gets into that point pretty early in the film, and you're not really sure what's going on. I mean, you see little things pop up throughout the storyline that kind of give you that feeling that something's up with the kid. You also see a family that has just moved to a new location. So as the little clip we showed you, there's that line that it's not the house that haunted, it's your son. You actually, part of what I think is really done well in the film right out the gate is that you almost are led to think that it has something to do with the house.
Yeah.
And then the whole further thing with the son is really what becomes what is truly scary about this film. And there's some exposition towards the end that kind of opens it up a little further and explains a little more, and we'll get into that a little later. But at its core, this movie is truly a sort of possession film, because what happens with one of their children is that he basically has this ability to basically, when he's sleeping, to kind of travel into what they call the Further. It's like astral projection.
Yeah,
in a dream state almost.
It's interesting because one thing that I definitely thought was, I don't know, one of its slower and kind of softer points was that it took forever for you to get to a point where this was kind of established. It wasn't until maybe 20-25 minutes into the story that it started to develop into something. I mean, you would see little hints that something crazy was going on in the house. Weird happenings in the house, but no real development into what the further was and any of that stuff into.
Yeah, you don't hear that term, the further, until literally like 20 minutes before the movie's over.
Yeah.
So you don't really know about a lot of that. So you are kind of on that verge of what's going on. Is it the house? Is it the kid? You know, is it the mother? Does she have something like following her around? Because it seems to all kind of focus around her also at first, because she's the only one that's really experiencing a lot of the scary noises and these images that she's seeing, that when she tries to get her husband to see, he just, he doesn't see it, or he doesn't experience right out of the right at the beginning.
Yeah, right at the
Eventually, he starts to understand what's going on, and you can tell that it starts to affect him in another way.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the most important thing to understand is that it's not like a horror movie in terms of like there's this scary guy right at the beginning of the film that that's who your villain is.
Yeah, it's
because you don't really establish that until closer to the end of the film. And honestly, that's almost what I like about the movie, is that I almost found that the first half of the movie almost delivered more for me than the second half because of how slow it built.
Yeah, it was one of those things. Like I guess the cool part about it was, one thing I really enjoyed about the movie in general was that the story development was really well done, I thought, up until a point. I think the issue with it was that it was this very slow sort of development with the family and seeing a dynamic, and then the weird things started happening, and then it just kind of kicked up 50 notches from there, which was kind of weird to me. I kind of had a problem with it, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. And a lot of people that I've talked to, like friends of mine and people that I went and saw the film with the second time about a week or so ago, that was some of the concerns they had. Because you go from this slow, intentional build of everything that you're not really seeing that is scaring you, and you don't really know what it is, to the second half of the film when you start understanding what this whole further element is, to actually, it just is like an onslaught of like visual scare tactics, and it almost feels like it steps up to like a level of film like almost like Saw is, or almost like Hostel.
It did.
It's a lot more visual than in what you didn't see, which is I thought what scared me more in the first half. Like those noises and the really quick glimpses of like a shadowy figure in the hallway or in the closet that you don't really know. But then the second half, you see all these like corpses and you see all these ghosts.
It kicked
and
up.
It does become a little overwhelming.
It kicked up. Well, one thing I really did enjoy about the style of movie that it was, is that it's very psychological, rather than having this very like outright, very gory, violent stuff. It kind of goes back to the older days of horror film, when you didn't necessarily have to have someone's head busted open,
right,
or someone get or torture porn is what they call it.
Gore, all that.
Yeah, all that gore. That's the cool part about it, and I kind of feel like Insidious is one of those movies that continues the tradition of having something that's psychologically scary rather than showing torture porn. So that,
I mean, you don't really see much blood in this movie at all. I mean, the movie's rated PG-13, and you almost, I don't know, I almost felt like I was questioning that, not because of content, but because walking out of it, I wondered, like, was this a PG-13 or an R movie? Because there are truly some, like, really frightening scenes.
Yeah. Definitely.
Not because of blood, like you said, not because of gore or anything like language going crazy. It's just, there are some really unsettling scenes that I literally, I find myself kind of hard to scare. And there were a few moments where I could feel myself literally in the theater with my mouth wide open, like all feel very uncomfortable. You know?
Okay, so this brings me to a point, something that I was thinking about as I was watching it.
Okay.
So I think that horror films are very interesting because your location affects the way you perceive it. So I'll give you an example. Something I like to call home court advantage. If you watch a movie at home, I think you have a tendency, maybe because of distraction or whatever, to kind of perceive the movie differently. So, like, I can watch a horror film at home and not be scared at all. I don't know why this is. Maybe it's because I'm comfortable, but I can watch something in the movies and every little twist and turn and sound scares the living hell out of me. So, what do you think about the home court advantage, that I like to refer to it as?
I can definitely see where you're coming with it. I feel like certain people definitely can relate to that.
Yeah.
I almost, on the other hand, would almost play the other side of the court. I mean, I almost feel like when I'm in a theater, I don't know, I feel like when I'm in a theater with like a large crowd of people and there can be distractions in there even, even sometimes like with presentation not really being all that great.
Yeah.
It can definitely make me maybe not as scared. Where a film like this, or a film like, for example, like a film like Paranormal Activity or The Strangers, where literally they're about a house, a house, one that's haunted, and also a house that's being stalked by these homicidal strangers.
Yeah.
So like if I'm watching that at my home, myself, or with my family or a friend or a girlfriend, whoever it might be, there's so much like real life fear for me in that situation. I feel more so than in the theater.
Yeah.
Granted, like you were saying, like if you're watching at home, and you have a horrible TV or your sound sucks and stuff, like you have a light on in the hallway and it's not completely dark. Totally. Like I could see watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
Some movies that I've watched for a second or third time, and like I'm watching it with the light on, like doing something on the computer in the background, it has no effect on me.
Yeah.
But I definitely see what you're saying. Like in a theater, it definitely kind of can put you in a different mindset. But I think in the same token, certain films at home could totally freak me out as much, if not more, just because of when I leave that room after watching the movie. Yeah, the fear of walking down a hallway and there being some crazy ass creature on the other end of a door or something.
Definitely. I had another issue. So picking well-known actors in horror films can be, in my opinion, the death of it in terms of the surprise element.
Okay. How do you mean?
Typecasting of characters. Some people that are kind of the same sort of character all the time.
Okay.
Patrick Wilson, for example, the male lead in it, has a tendency to be sort of like this mild-mannered dude that randomly pops up and surprises people, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm crazy." You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things. So it affected the kind of twist at the end of the movie.
Right.
As a result. That's a problem to me. I mean, like, I knew who he was going to be before he was who he was. I mean, I guess with the exception of something like Watchmen or something like that. I guess he was very different in that, and I guess Lakeview Terrace with Samuel L. Jackson. But I feel like his character,
almost like his notoriety, you look at him and say, like, they picked that guy to be in this movie, like, so that he stands out almost.
Yeah.
As, like, something's gonna go on with him.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be a pivotal factor in this film.
Yeah. I think I think one movie, funny enough, I'm like looking at it on the screen, Hard Candy.
Oh yeah.
Where he plays like kind of like a child molester, sort of could be a pedophile, could not be. That kind of psychological sort of twist. And then he's been that sort of character in other movies, affected the way I perceive. But that's only for a guy that watches movies all the time, like we do. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But
I definitely see what you're saying though. Like I feel like maybe not so much with this film, because I didn't right off the bat see him as like, oh god, there's going to be something that happens with him because of who he was or his name.
Yeah. There
were elements of the film that kind of had going on with him that made me wonder how he was going to play into what the central problem was.
Yeah.
Like there's those moments when he's like in the school and he's like dreaming, and you see these like really like kind of grayed out flashback scenes where you're like, what exactly is that? And they come into play at the end of the movie. Those elements are more so what made him stand out to me than like his name.
Yeah.
But I definitely know what you're saying. Like there are some films where you watch it and there's a certain named actor in a role, and you're like, there's no way in hell that they would hire that person to be in that role unless they were going to do something that meant a damn thing.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, I can't think of one exactly right off the top of my head, but I mean, there's totally situations like that where I'm like, okay, if Vin Diesel doesn't do something important, they wasted a salary on him.
Yeah, definitely.
They're putting him in this movie for a reason if it's not a cameo. But I really didn't see it. I mean, like, I thought that I didn't really have much to say about Patrick Wilson. I mean, he was kind of like, he was a body. I felt like some of the scenes where he's like kind of coming to terms with like accepting the paranormal people coming into the house, I thought he did pretty. I liked some of those scenes with him. But there are, he kind of goes from like 0 to 60 a couple times this movie where he's like very mild mannered and then he's like nuts.
Yeah.
Almost, or he gets very angry or very affected. And that kind of comes off a little weird. But I did really like Rose Byrne.
Yeah, Rose Byrne.
I
really
think
good.
She's not only gorgeous and easy to look at, but I definitely like, you relate to her. I feel like when she's like writing those songs, like you get this backstory that she's like a songwriter.
Yeah.
And she's writing these songs about like the lyrics of the song or something that have to do with like making a change and making something of her life.
Yeah.
You almost feel for her like she's really not able to realize any of her dreams. And not only that, like, she's stuck with these kids at the house while her husband's working in a new house, and all this crazy stuff starts happening. She really made me feel for her, within like 10-15 minutes of the movie. A couple like other random actors that are in it, like the mother of Patrick Wilson's character.
Please, we have to talk about
Barbara Hershey. She's creepy.
Sheesh.
She scares me.
Yeah, all right. So
I almost thought she was going to be like a devil or something.
I
in this
thought so
movie.
too. I felt like her character was kind of jammed into the movie. Like, I think, like, all right. So the underlying issue is something has occurred that hadn't been spoken about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know what? Let me stop you. Let's establish something real quick. On this podcast, are we gonna spoil movies? I have an issue with it, but I mean, at this point, like, this film specifically has been out for over a month.
Okay.
So if you haven't seen it, that's your own damn fault. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Because here's my problem.
All right.
This whole time, like I just said, Patrick Wilson has these weird dreams, and like he's in a kid in a bed, and you're like, is that the son or who is that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Barbara Hershey pops up as the mother of Patrick Wilson. You know, they move houses.
Yes.
And then continue what you were saying.
This was all right. What he was saying is well into the movie. I'm talking like almost halfway into the movie. She
Probably
kind of
more
appears.
than half.
More than half.
They've already moved to a new house.
They've already moved. They established the jobs are established. The creepy stuff starts happening. I'm telling you, she doesn't even show up one time before maybe the 40-minute mark of the movie, and it's kind of weird to have somebody that wasn't in the movie at all kind of become a huge part of it.
Right.
Very shortly after she comes into the scene.
Very quickly, yeah.
Very quickly. It's like, boom, she's in it. She's doing all the stuff. She's trying to help them, and she knows somebody that can help with the problem. She's experienced it before. She's saying all this stuff, and I'm like, what? How the hell is this happening? She hasn't been around. I would have even been content if she would have called or something earlier in the movie.
Right.
And they would have had an exchange.
Or at least mentioned. And that's a good point, because like that's what we were saying earlier. Like that second half of the movie, a lot happens.
Yeah.
In like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That the rest of the film built up so deliberately and so slowly that you're like, you just kind of did that for nothing.
Yeah.
Like when she shows up, she's like, you know, she starts talking to Rose Byrne in the kitchen about, you know, the weirdness that's going on, and she sees a picture that Rose Byrne has of her, Patrick Wilson, and their children, and the mother is very weird in how she reacts to it. She's like, oh, you got a picture of him, like he doesn't like having his picture taken. And right off that, right there, you know, okay, they put her in here for a reason, you know, but what the hell does that mean? Like, what does it have to do with a picture? Why does the father not like taking pictures?
Yeah.
And literally like 10 minutes later, it's escalated so much that she literally is like dumbing down the entire synopsis of this movie and explaining this whole backstory about the father.
Okay.
And how that relates to what's going on with the son.
Right.
So you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
All right, so the stuff with the son. So there's a great deal of things going on in the house, like visions and things are falling down and weird noises and random old school people with old-timey hats walking around. And there has to be some sort of like give, like that this has to be solved. So the mom comes in and has a resident expert, I guess within a couple miles that knows about this sort of thing. And she warns them, you know, this is going to be some heavy stuff. Are you ready to know what this is? And at that point, they kind of announce that this guy can basically go to the further. And that's one of the biggest parts. And then it starts to escalate from there. They kind of hire a Ghostbuster sort of team in order to investigate everything that's going on in the house. And it goes everything from like these machines that look like what do they call them in Ghostbusters? The little machines for picking up ghost activity and things of that nature.
I'm not even sure.
Yeah. So that brings me to a very interesting question, Steve. All right. So a very big part about fiction is kind of the internal logic. The internal logic of the movie. Can you suspend your disbelief for this hour and a half and imagine yourself in this world, or imagine the characters in this world and think that this is within reason what's going on? Did this movie accomplish that? Insidious. Did Insidious accomplish that? Is the internal logic good enough or is it presented good enough that you're able to say, I can accept that.
Yeah,
that they can go to the further and.
You know, honestly, like, I wouldn't say no completely. I mean, I feel like there was a few points where I was like, okay, I'm buying this. And, you know, like you were just saying, like, when all this gets explained, like, literally in 10 minutes of the film,
Right.
that's kind of where I started to step out of actually buying into the whole, like,
Yeah.
can I suspend my disbelief and just imagine this really happening? Because, I mean, everything else has been, it was so slow that, like, I was like, okay, this is really cool. Like, the kid is in a comatose state. Like, he's not in a coma. He has brain activity. But all this weird shit's happening, and, you know, all these little things are slowly being revealed, but then it's just like, they just dump the wheelbarrow out of all this information.
Yeah.
So, the fact that they have to explain so much in, like, 5 minutes makes me think that there's no way in hell that I can believe that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you have to be that intentional with it, like with any kind of film, not just this movie, I feel like if you slowly built something and you got me buying into it, why, I mean, you know, why do you have to cheapen it and explain all of this at one time?
Yeah.
I think the whole astral projection thing is really cool. Like, I'm not the most, like, you know, paranormal buff or whatever. Like, I watch a few of the paranormal shows on TV and whatnot.
Right.
And I'm sure that there are stuff like that going on. I think it exists in some form.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of where I was able to identify with the film. But then when it kind of gets more into that whole, like, shock factor, you know, and that's the elements that the movie throws out, that's kind of when I started to, like, kind of just sit back and be like, oh, okay, this is just a movie. But I'm gonna stick with the ride, and I'm gonna have fun with it.
Yeah.
You know, what did you think about it?
I thought that is one of the biggest issues that I had with the movie.
Okay.
The internal logic. I guess it got to a point where, like you said, it was kind of shoved down your throat very quickly. Now, I can think of a movie, and I know this is so left field in terms of what I'm comparing it to, but Inception. The reason why I bring up Inception is that Inception had a very, very far-fetched concept, but they layered the information well enough that once it started to occur, you're like, oh, okay, this is why it's happening. I mean, and he did it in a really witty way. So it happened, stuff started happening, and then they're explaining little pieces. And then on the fly, as it's happening, they're like, by the way, this, and this does this.
Yeah.
This does this, and this is how you access this world. So that's why I accepted it in that movie.
Yeah.
And because Insidious didn't do it as well, I'm not comparing it to Inception. Don't get me.
The only similarity they have is that they both start with the letter I. That's about as far as it goes.
The only. So yeah, that's that. I was just using that as a point of comparison, just because the imaginary world that Insidious functions in is something that's really hard to follow after a while. And at first, I mean, but the cool part about it is, the part that makes it so great is, despite the fact that this exists, this flaw, this huge gaping flaw, it still was a very enjoyable movie.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I feel like I've been, like, riding on the negative wagon for a little too
we've been
long.
riding on the negative wagon.
I just think that one aspect, my only true, you know, kind of criticism is just that, you know, it just tried to shove so much in the last 20 minutes that a lot of it really wasn't really that necessary. You know, when they reveal the father's connection to the son and the father's ability to do this astral projection, and, like, the only way you can save your son is if you go into the further and pull him out.
Yeah.
You know, it just got really kind of quirky, and it was like, okay, you know, it's not as cool as it was before, but I'm still down with it.
Yeah.
You know, I can still ride along. And, I mean, when they do go into that world, there are some really cool, like, creepy scenes, like when he finds the son in that whole, like, behind the red door in the fortress thing, and you see that, like, demon, that creepy ass, like, it looked like Darth Maul.
That's actually
Freddy
exactly
Krueger
what I was thinking,
had a Darth Maul baby or something
Yeah.
like that, like with these claws, and you know he's sharpening them, and the kid's like looking at him up in the window. Those are some really creepy scenes, and I mean, like I thought
definitely.
even when that was the flawed area of the movie for me, there were still some really cool things that I personally found like creepy. You know, that definitely stayed with me after the movie. And that's one of the things I wanted to talk about was in that scene, and even earlier when they moved to the new house. There's a song that plays throughout the film, like it's like a recurring thing, and it's also in the trailer. So if you've heard the trailer before, you know what I'm talking about. It's called "Tiptoe Through the Tulips." I looked it up. I got it. And oddly enough, I like have heard this song in its entirety before, but the area that they keep playing it on in the film, it is creepy as hell. Like when that little like midget like sailor person is dancing in the house and hiding in the little closet. That scene is scary, but when they go into that further and the father finds the kid and that demon is like sharpening his claws, like he has like an old Victrola like LP player playing a record of that song.
Yeah.
And it is truly frightening to me.
Yeah.
Like that song almost scares me more than the movie. I literally downloaded it and scared the shit out of my girlfriend with it. Like I like peek around the corner of the bedroom and like the song kicks on and it's like and it's frightening. Like listening to the song after seeing the movie, it almost gives me like goosebumps.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's something that I've noticed about a lot of horror movies recently, which I think is kind of cool because these are songs that I may have never heard of before, but they have these like random like it's either like bluegrass or like country or just like really old like folky pop songs.
Yes.
That they just like throw into a horror movie and it's like scary as shit.
It is very scary. It contributed to. All right, there are a couple shots when they were in the further that really were pretty powerful. There's one when he sees this family on the couch. He goes over to them and kind of checks out what's going on with them. So it's just a family there by themselves, and they look kind of weird, kind of freaked out,
almost like wax figures.
Wax figures, and they kind of disappear. And then you see the girl appear with a gun in her hand, and she's shooting the family. They disappear, and then they reappear with holes in their chest, and then they reappear again in front of him. I mean, it's like stuff like that's really, really well done. But I don't know what the hell it has to do with, in the broad scheme of it, what the old people, the old time people, like the small man walking around with the scary music, related to those people in the further. I guess the problem is, if the further is what it is, whatever it is this place where these souls are, where they're like some kind of purgatory sort of place. If they would have went into that a little further, I would have understood it a little more. Like I kind of feel like it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the explanation is that when the little boy Dalton is what he thinks was dreaming before he gets too far. Like earlier in the film, he references like dreams, and you see these pictures on the wall of him like flying, like he's a superhero. And these drawings come into play later, and you like kind of connect the dots, and you're like, oh wow, this makes sense. Yeah. But how they explain it is that like when he's dreaming, they come off as dreams to him, but they are actually astral projections, meaning that he is traveling through this world of like undead spirits or demons that are basically in this in-between, you know, unsettled. And when he's in there, these demons see his astral body as a way to come back into the real world. Yeah. So this scary-ass one that I referenced that's like sharpening his claws and everything that's going after Dalton is like the biggest demon of all. But the further they lure him into this dream world, the more likely it is that he'll never return to his body, and these demons instead can take over his body. Yeah. So like when the scene you're talking about with that family, it's like when the father is going very far to find this kid, and like you start seeing all these random like spirits pop up. And you're right, like that family, I guess that replay is maybe showing that family maybe being murdered by someone. And you know, this is me just like going crazy. Like maybe that's like maybe that's like a mistress of the father killing them, or like the wife killing the father because he cheated on her, or I don't know. I'm not writing the movie for them. But basically, you're right. Like, these little kind of scared factors happen, and you're like, they really don't have anything to do with the movie, but they're just scary. You know? They're just meant to kind of creep you out. And they did, you know, they're kind of creepy. Yeah.
It was effective. It was definitely effective. I think overall, I enjoyed the movie. To be completely honest with you, at first, I was like, you know, I don't know how to feel about it. But, right. I think that James Wan is onto something in terms of the direction of a lot of the movies that he's done. There's this weird underlying sort of morality to his movies, like kind of like appreciating things and not letting people get too far away from you and preserving. It's weird. Like Saw obviously had like this sort of beat like you over moral, the head. Moral, like do this. You know, you must. What about that other one with the puppets?
Dead Silence?
I enjoyed Dead Silence too.
Yeah, I thought it was horrible.
You did?
Yeah, I mean that movie. I don't know.
I mean,
I couldn't get into it. It just seemed like a retread of like, oh, let's have this little creepy toy like creep you out, just like kind of like Jigsaw was. But
yeah,
it was. It didn't. I didn't see the morality issue as much in that. I just didn't think it was a very good movie. But I see what you're saying though about the morality thing, because you're right. I mean, like the whole thing with this movie is like, definitely appreciating staying close to people. I can see a little bit of that. I think what James Wan has going on in this film is like, I think the direction is really well done. I mean, like a lot of times we've referenced like how slowly it builds, and a lot of the shots are really cool. I love personally the opening and ending credits. It's got this like screeching string quartet that reminds me of some like old like 60s 70s like horror film or something. That really like kind of sets the tone for how shocking some of the movie can be.
Yeah, definitely.
But to go back real quick on what I was talking about, the songs, like those music choices, like the song in The Strangers, like when they actually come in to attack her, and that song, the record player, again a record player, you visually see a record player. I love that you see this old technology and this old song being an element of what makes a scene so scary. Yeah. Definitely. And the song, I looked it up, it's called My First Lover by Gillian Welch. And it's not even, the song's not scary. The song is a sweet song about love. Yeah. But when it gets stuck on that loop and those strangers start attacking Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, like that song on the loop is what makes that scene so scary for me. Yeah. Another one is the Jeepers Creepers song. The movie, I personally love Jeepers Creepers. I think it's a cool creature film. I love Justin Long in it. I love how he's the guy the whole time they're going after. Right. But there's this old song, it's an old jazz song, basically Jeepers Creepers. I'd heard the song before I saw the movie and had no correlation with it with being scary. Yeah. But then that movie, like every time I whistle that song, it like creeps me out. Yeah. And I feel like it's really cool how some of these movies are throwing these random songs in there that most of our generation has never even heard of. I know I never heard of half of them. But then, I literally find myself looking it up after the movie, like, what? Like, Google search, scary song from Insidious. And Tiny Tim pops up, this creepy-ass motherfucker that sings this song called Tiptoe Through the Tulips. Yeah. And it's scary. I mean, and, I just feel like it adds a whole nother dimension to a scene visually. Visually, because if you've seen a record player, I think that's scary. Like that this demon is literally spinning an LP in his little torture chamber. Definitely.
It's weird because it's like technology. It's one of those things, like you're in a panicked situation, and then it kind of reminds you that like the technology that you have cannot protect you from whatever's going on at this time. And then it's like, oh, these weird things like records playing and looping at weird times. It's like a lack of control. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like they have no control over what's going on. That's pretty cool. That's what that always means to me. Whenever I hear that old creaky music, like especially in The Strangers, when I heard that music, I was like, it's over.
Yeah, man. If you play that, if you play that song, just like if you go to iTunes and just listen to the My First Lover song, it never would strike you as scary. Yeah. But then when you go to that, like it's at the 3-minute mark, I think, and you hear, the part of the song that gets stuck on the loop in the movie, you're like, oh my god, that's that part from The Strangers. That one like 10-second loop. It's like, holy shit, that's the scary part from that movie, and it's creepy. But this is actually we're gonna play a clip of that real quick, so you kind of have it. We're gonna play a couple of them. A little sample of the Tiptoe and also maybe My First Lover. So check these out, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, you can see from that little snippet, I'm sure if you've seen The Strangers or if you've seen Insidious yet, you know exactly like what you can associate that little track from.
Yeah,
and I think it's awesome. You know, I think that if I was ever a filmmaker, I feel like if there's any other thing that I can incorporate in my film that you would leave and not only be like, that movie was scary, but also that song that I'd never heard of was scary, that's like awesome, you know?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level.
Yeah. So I guess in the broader scheme of things, I think that James Wan's mission, for the most part, was accomplished.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah, he did the visuals. He had the sound down pat. Like I think we're gonna appreciate movies like this years from now, because I know this is like a weird thing, but people that concentrate on all the elements that make a movie scary, rather than just very visual, horrifying things, that makes for a very good director. And I like to see what his next one's going to be. I think he's going to get better and better and better.
yeah.
I thought Saw 1 was amazing, and Saw 2 it kind of went downhill from...
I personally hate the entire Saw franchise.
What?
No, let me just say something real quick, okay?
How?
Saw 1, okay, I like Saw 1 because it is different, and I admire, like, that whole angle of, like, you know, repercussions for your actions and making really, really tough decisions, and that's kind of cool. But just the idea of how far that franchise has gone is completely what makes it disgusting to me.
Yeah.
You know, the films now are just like so... It's just like, how many times can you eat the film and poop out the same thing over and over again?
Yeah.
Like, it literally is just ridiculous at this point. And you know, it shows, because each time that movies come out, those sequels have made less and less and less money.
Yeah.
And I'm happy as hell that last one, whatever, 2 years ago, when it came out against Paranormal Activity and, like, completely bombed. Like,
Yeah.
as an original idea has taken its place. Saw 1 was awesome. For some people, it made a lot of money, and they just completely diluted it with all these crappy sequels. And then a new original idea, like Paranormal Activity, which I really enjoyed, comes out and, you know, kind of puts it in its place. I feel like there needs to be a point when you stop. Saw, I think it's gone way too far. I like the first one a little bit.
Yeah.
Can't say anything positive about the rest of them.
So, I got to retract the statement. I
Yeah.
just realized
Yeah.
that Dead Silence was the movie that had the Wahlberg in it. I did not like that movie.
See, I knew it. I knew
did not
there's
like that
no
movie.
way that somebody that has as decent taste as you
I
would
did
like
not.
that movie.
I did not like that movie.
Dead Silence is bad.
It was pretty bad.
It's got the dude from True Blood in it before he was anybody.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay,
dude.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess what are we gonna? So we've been talking about this.
I think the way we're going to try to break down how we kind of rate a movie rather than going with a typical, you know, 10 scale or grade scale or star scale is a really truly applicable way to say whether or not you were into a movie or not. And like I always reference the movie Speed when I was like 10 or 11 when it came out. It was the first time I was at a theater and I really felt myself fighting myself from getting up to go pee during the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you were halfway into it or you had that huge, large Coke, you know, Diet Coke, whatever it is, and you're so engrossed in the film that you're so into it that you're like, I have to go so bad that I'm going to just die. And you're like, maybe I'll just sit here and pee my pants because this movie is like rocking on all levels. So I think that's what we're going to have, you know, how we're going to try to approach it.
Cool.
We haven't really come up with a true meter or a true way to say it.
Right.
But I mean, I think at this point right now, just the idea of whether or not this movie is worth holding it all the way through.
Right.
So maybe we can do like a minute mark. Like if we say, okay, this is an hour and a half. You can hold it all the way up through like maybe 50 minutes. And then maybe if you want to dip out, you can. Or if you want to dip out in the first 10 minutes, it makes more sense.
Right. Because it's all about the absolutes. Would you watch this movie or would you not? So I like that. I like the whole like how far along would you hold out? For me, I guess. Let me be honest. Because it was so slow, it takes a long time for me to. I couldn't present this to a group of people that were like, oh, I love horror movies. I want to see, you know what I mean? Something that's very exciting that'll keep my attention forever.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, God, this sounds so harsh. 30 minutes in, man.
30 minutes, you dip out.
Yeah, because it
Break the seal. 30 minutes.
30 minutes in.
Break the seal. I like that. Maybe break the seal.
Break the seal.
That could be it.
Break the seal. What?
You know, me personally, I actually was in that position where I literally had to go so bad the first time that I could feel my stomach going out of my pants.
Ush.
But really, truly, I love horror movies, and I love the slow build of this film from the first half.
Right.
And it got me. I didn't leave the theater. This film was worth holding for me, not worth breaking the seal. I was so invested by the time it gets to the point where we talked about some of the flaws of kind of how it gets a little hokey and all this stuff just happens so fast. But I was to the point where I was enough into it that I'm like, I got it. I'm invested in this. Let's just go for the ride.
Right.
And and of course, when it was over, I hung out in the bathroom for like 10 minutes. But
yeah.
I think it's worth holding. I mean, if you like horror films, if you like slow builds, you get to the point where you're 35, 40 minutes into it. This film is going to have you, and you're going to feel like if you leave, to go to the bathroom or to take that ever important pee, that you're going to miss something. And I think that's what it did well in the first half. I did think if I left, I was going to miss something important. I was a little wrong because everything important gets explained in like 5 minutes towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But, it's all good. At that point, I'm done. But, I mean, I was really into this film all around. I liked it enough to go see it a second time, with some friends of mine that didn't see it. I will surely get this movie on DVD. I love watching horror movies over and over again, even ones that are horrible, but this is one that I'll actually enjoy watching again. And, and I'll watch from home and, I'll keep in mind the whole home court advantage thing you're talking about, because this is the movie that I feel like at home would kind of creep me out.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but I mean, when that happens, I'll address it when it comes along.
Yeah. Now, okay, cool. So that's how we feel about that. Now, in terms of some horror films that you think we should suggest to people to watch.
Okay.
Like, I mean, because Insidious was, in a broad scheme, like it was pretty good, but some ones that you would suggest that somebody would go out and see that maybe they may not have known about.
Well, recently, things that I really have stood out for, like, horror films, I mentioned earlier, I really like The Strangers. It's not super recent, but I was a huge fan of that. One that I've watched repeatedly since I've owned the DVD of it. I really like Paranormal Activity. I actually really, really like Paranormal Activity 2. I think that it's as good, if not better, than the first one. So, have you seen the Paranormal Activities yet?
I haven't, man.
You haven't seen them yet.
I
See, this is where you can truly test your home field advantage or home court advantage.
I think I will, because I have it in HD. I have it in Blu-ray.
HD with surround sound. I mean, you need to experience, like, maybe your house being haunted. And I mean, in Paranormal Activity 2, they're both on DVD. Both done by the same director. Which, oddly enough, the director of Paranormal Activity and Paranormal Activity 2 was a producer of Insidious. Oren Pell. It's a small world, right?
Yeah, it is.
But, I mean, so, some of the things that I liked about Paranormal, and maybe that's why I popped up in Insidious. But Paranormal Activity 1 and 2 I really liked. The Strangers. I love... I'm only saying this because I'm having a night this weekend with my friends. We're watching some remakes of recent remakes of some classic horror films.
Right.
I love the remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Okay.
And I love the
That was a
remake
good
of
one.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
They maintained integrity about it that I really enjoyed. That's why I love them. Yeah, they were good remakes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What other horror films would you recommend?
I guess the foreign film Record.
Yeah.
Amazing. Three that I'm thinking about. Record, Let the Right One In.
Oh man,
Amazing.
Now, Let the Right One In or Let Me In?
Let the Right One In.
The original.
Yeah, the original.
Okay.
Let the Right One In. And High Tension.
Oh my God, love it.
High Tension.
So
to
good.
Me, is the standard for craziness movies. I think. All right, so I have a very, very strict criteria for gore. If it's going to be gory, the story has to be good enough to support it. It can't just be like, lop their head off.
Just chop them up.
Yeah. It was a good psychological thriller on top of it just being completely violent. It was so violent. Yeah,
I love Let the Right One In.
Yeah.
And, I mean, High Tension. And I was looking up Let the Right One In because I actually think about it, and I think I actually may, again with the remakes, Let Me In. I almost think I like it more than the original.
Right.
I don't even know why. Like, not to get too much into Let Me In, but I love like just the tone of the film, and it looks very similar to the original.
Yeah.
The Swedish version, but. Like I like there's like all these little like 80s references, like the 80s clothes and like music and sporting events that are referenced to Let Me In. And I can't believe I forgot that. That's a recent one that I saw, and I watched it like twice, and I got the DVD. Yeah, man, that's a really good
good
one.
movie. It's very dark and murky, and the dialogue's really cool, and I think it just has a really fresh feel to it. And leave it up to somebody outside of the country to make an amazing movie. You know what I mean? I think that
let the right one in. You mean?
Yeah, and let the right one in. And same with Record, which wound up being a remake in America. It was called
The Eye. No.
Man,
what was the remake?
The remake starred the lady from Dexter. Dexter's
Quarantine.
Quarantine.
Oh yeah. I saw Quarantine. Not that great.
Record's pretty significantly
good.
Better.
It's rabies, right?
Yeah, well, yes.
That's how they sum it up.
It pretty much is rabies. I think it really did a good job of creating this chaotic experience.
Yeah.
With little to no special effects. There were no special effects. It was all like makeup and stuff like that.
Sure.
So.
I mean, definitely check those out. All those are available on DVD.
Yep. Easy to get.
Let Me In, Let the Right One In. Those are the Let Me In is the American remake by Matt Reeves, who did Cloverfield, which I also personally liked.
Cloverfield was a very good movie.
Let the Right One is the Swedish original. It's Record.
Record, yeah. REC, whatever. I mean, you can look it up on Amazon. It'll come up. Paranormal Activities 1 and 2, which I need to watch, and I guess I'll talk about the next time.
Yeah, I have them, man. You can borrow them, you can watch them, and you can do a little mention next time once you thought of them.
Yeah, definitely.
For a follow-up. And yeah, I mean, if you're into the remakes, though, definitely check out the Dawn of the Dead and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes. I think I love them. They're probably some of my favorite horror films in the past, 10 years. I mean, I don't love either of those original films, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't love Dawn of the Dead or even the original Texas Chainsaw, which are like, sacred ground for any kind of horror buff. And that's fine. I guess I'm not
super
cool,
offended
but
by that.
that's fine. I don't really care. I like what I like, and I'm not boasting to be any kind of like crazy knowledgeable aficionado. I just know what I like.
Yeah,
and I loved the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love the look that the film had. Same with Dawn of the Dead. So definitely check them out. I'm not sure. We're going to try to do this, I don't know, maybe bi-weekly, maybe once a month or something like that. A movie comes along that kind of affects both of us that we definitely have a strong enough opinion on. Hopefully we'll disagree a little more next time, or maybe not.
I feel like this was one of those movies, though, like,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of middle of the road, but, it's good enough that you could say you liked it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And, I mean, the movie's making bank. Like, it's made over, like, $50 million, and they only made it on a budget of, like, 1.5.
Really?
So, like, it's a huge success. They're buying new mansions because of this movie, pretty much.
It feels like a remake. Can I be honest? It feels like a remake.
I'm sure it borrows from a lot of films.
Like a Spanish movie with Penelope Cruz as the...
I think you might be onto something. Maybe you need to pitch this idea.
Yes, because I imagine her saying "Insidious." Insidious. She has that lisp.
She does. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
The lisps are only allowed on a certain few people.
And she can get away with it.
Yeah.
But
cool. Well, I think that sums up the first episode. Like I said, we're gonna be checking in with these, and we'll have ways for you guys to subscribe and check us out. Hopefully, eventually, we can get this on iTunes.
Yeah, definitely.
But definitely, thanks so much for listening. We'll have this posted on our page. If you want to hit us up, you can email us. Love to talk to you guys, share your thoughts, maybe comment on the blog once we get it posted.
Yes.
And let us know what you think, how much you disagree with us or agree with us. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Peace.